Hey everybody, it's me, Steve Schnee, and welcome to another episode of CD Junkie. On this episode, I am going to talk about a band by the name of Spandau Ballet. They really had a very interesting and, in my opinion, great musical career. Every album that they released was different from each other, and it's just really a fabulous output. Let's talk about the music. The band consisted of Tony Hadley on vocals, Gary Kemp, songwriter and guitar player, Martin Kemp, his brother, on bass, Steve Norman on percussion and saxophone, and John Keeble on drums. They came together in about 1979, and they became part of the Blitz Club scene, which was sort of a new romantic. It sort of mixed influences like, David Bowie and glam music with, the great tight funk of Chic and all these bands. First time I heard Spandau Ballet was a song called To Cut a Long Story Short, and that was taken from their album Journeys to Glory. That came out in 1981, and this is, it's danceable, it's funky, it's cold, but it's also full of life. This is really a great introduction to that whole scene. Now, even on this first album, Tony Hadley had that dramatic vocal, but at times it seems like it could be too dramatic, but it really fit in with what they were doing because Gary Kemp was writing some great songs, and this is a band that played together. Everything was equal, the guitar and the bass and the drums, and it just all meshed together so well. And this was a big album for them, and put them on the top of the charts in the UK. And it didn't do as well here in the States, but it did give them some like new wave recognition on radio stations like KROQ and things like that. In 1982, they put out an album called Diamond, and this moved forward from that. Very much, it has the same musical foundation, but Gary Kemp was progressing as a songwriter. The songs were poppier, more mature. The band felt like they were more relaxed in what they were doing, and they were showing their true selves. Now let's jump forward a year to 1983. I remember walking into Music Plus in Garden Grove, and they were playing this album, and I was going, oh, this sounds pretty catchy. But it wasn't occurring to me that it was Spandau Ballet because that funkiness was kind of gone. The first two albums, I believe, were produced by Richard James Burgess, and that's what they're going for. But on True, they're going for more of a blue-eyed soul sound. So they had the Jolly Swain production team working on that, and just some fabulous songs. And then finally, the title track came on, and I just remember standing there in the middle of the store, and I just could not stop listening to it. And I remember Johnny Flanagan, who was the Garden Grove High School punk. I mean, this is the guy that you stayed away from because he'd punch your lights out. I mean, that's what everybody thought. He actually ended up being a nice guy. But he walked up to me in the store, and he said, hey, this is the new Spandau Ballet, something like that. And he goes, yeah, kind of like this. Whatever. And I'm thinking, is he baiting me into this? Am I going to say, oh, yeah, this is pretty cool? And then he's going to punch me. But it didn't matter because I fell in love with the album, and that was the album True, like I said. Came out in 1983. This is a pure blue-eyed soul album full of some of their best songs. In fact, this is probably, in my opinion, one of the best albums of the 80s. This has Lifeline, Communication, Pleasure, Gold, True. I think there's only one song in this that I don't care for, and that's Code of Love. But this version here has, a bunch of bonus tracks on it, and it also has a DVD of them recording it. And this is an absolutely fabulous album. I mean, if you've only heard like one or two songs and, you've been hesitating, True is really a great gateway album. Now, the next album I wanted it to be True Part 2, but they'd never done that before. Diamond was not Journeys to Glory Part 2. It was just an extension of it. And this album, which is called Parade, this came out in 1984. This album was more guitar-oriented, less blue-eyed soul, closer to pop, 80s pop and stuff. This is the album with like Only When You Leave, which I think is just one of their best songs. Just incredible. But Gary's guitar was more up front, and this one here sounds like he was he had a vision in his head, and let's be a rock band and not a pop soul band. Now that album was another success, and then they went off and toured, did all the usual stuff. They were building an audience here in the U.S., and they put out the singles collection. But I want to mention something, and I noticed this with the singles collection, because I never bought and paid attention to Spandau Ballet 7-inch single of True. But the first time I think I heard the 7-inch was on the singles collection. Now, the album version is like 6 minutes and something seconds long, 6.5 minutes, let's say. The single version is 5.5 minutes. And that missing 1 minute, to me, it's, oh my gosh, they took out that part of the song. It may not be important in the scheme of things, but to me, True is one of my favorite songs of all time. And I'll tell you a little story about that in just a few moments. So I need to hear that 6 minutes version. And there's been other mixes of the song that are maybe a little longer, a little shorter. There's an instrumental mix. I have it all. So anyway, so let's get back to their career. In 1986, it was 2 years after Parade, they put out Through the Barricades. And this is yet another successful album. But it was more successful in Europe. It didn't do that well. Like those albums, I believe, were on Chrysalis here in the States. This album, I think, came out on Sony, and I don't think that they had enough promotion. There's a great single called How Many Lies. I think Swept is on here. But this is definitely moving forward from the guitar rock sound of Parade. And, you know, it gets heavier, maybe a little bit of a stereotypical AOR type stuff in there. But it seems like they went from new wave to sort of, I don't want to say middle of the road, because they still weren't middle of the road, but really close to a very commercial sound that could have got a lot of airplay if they had been promoted here in the States. But yeah, this album was hugely successful in Europe. Now, it took a little while, but in 1989, they came out with an album called Heart Like a Sky. Not one of my favorites. I can look at these song titles and go, okay, yeah, I remember what that sounds like. Like Empty Spaces is a wonderful ballad. This is them really heading in that commercial direction. And they became pretty much a rock band. Still, Gary Kemp was writing great songs, but the production, you know, female vocalists and, you know, power chords and stuff. I mean, it wasn't Def Leppard and Glass Tiger or anything like that. But, you know, it was definitely Spandau Ballet, because you can't deny Tony Hadley's voice. But it's just not one of my favorites. So Empty Spaces is incredible. Just wonderful, wonderful song. But in 1990, the band split. And there were, over the years, a bunch of legal issues. And you never would have thought that they would have got back together again. But in 2009, they did. There was even a documentary called Soul Boys in the Western World, or Soul Boys in a West, or something like that. I'm sorry, I didn't write it down. And that was a great documentary. It really was. And I went to a screening a release party for the documentary when it came out on DVD. And it was in this small little club area or whatever. And all 5 of the members were there. So I went and met them, got my stuff signed. I remember going up to Gary Kemp, songwriter, guitar player, and explaining to him my love of the song True, and how it had been a song that, you know all the accolades that you would totally want to share with somebody who wrote one of your favorite songs of all time. And he was smiling and nodding his head and very friendly about it. And then as halfway through, I'm thinking, not that he didn't care, but it's like, how many times does some schlub walk up to him and say this? And I felt kind of embarrassed walking away or whatever. And I think within a few months, they were touring. And I was able to see them twice. And my friend Michael got me a VIP pass. So I got to meet the band before. And here's a picture. And I remember going up and Gary Kemp going, haven't we met before? I mean, he said it in the, hello, mate, whatever. And I'm going, well, I mean, you may have seen me come in the door or whatever. And it didn't occur to me till later that maybe he did remember our conversation about True, that it only happened a couple months before. And then I immediately said, no, he probably just saw me walk in the door. So that was a great show. But around that time, out came the album Once More, which found them doing 2 new songs, including the title track Once More. Then they rearranged, acoustic and full band acoustic type things of some of their hits. So you can see that there. But the song Once More is just wonderful, beautiful. This has just been released on a double LP, I think double gold vinyl. If you're into vinyl, you can check that out, but the CD should be out there and should be available. And that continued, and they would tour occasionally. Then they released a best of, and that's called The Story. And this is 2014, I believe. And this is a greatest hits, plus it has 3 brand new studio tracks. This is The Love, which got decent airplay, and then Steel and Soul Boy. Really a fantastic collection. I think out of a single disc collections, this is a really nice one because it gives a nice full career overview. Now, Tony Hadley left the band in 2017, and they continued. They didn't really do much, but they did bring in a new vocalist, and I think they played a couple gigs, and then they just figured, no, we can't do this without Tony. And I think most of us feel that way too. And then they broke up 2019. In 2020, they released this, which I think is the best comprehensive single package Spandau Ballet. If you're going to buy one thing, this is career encompassing. It has the song Once More from that album. Then it has the 3 new songs that were featured on The Story. And it has a bunch of hits. And that's spread over 2 CDs. And then the third CD has like remixes and things like that. And that's probably the best thing. Now, there is a release that came out a year or 2 ago called Everything Is Now, which unfortunately I have not been able to afford because it's about $100, but it contains, I think, like the first 2 albums on vinyl and then 6 CDs of alternate mixes and demos and unreleased tracks. And I'll eventually have that. I've been meaning to make this video since that box set came out, but anyway, I've also heard that they are in talks to reunite again. So that's probably just rumors. But it would be nice to be able to either hear new music or to be able to see them again. Now, if you've never really experienced Spandau Ballet, the music apart from what you've heard on the radio, you are in luck because I have put together a medley featuring songs from each of the studio albums, plus some of the newer songs from the more recent best ofs. And I would love for you to give this a listen, and you could listen to the band progress as well as listen to all the great songs that Gary Kemp wrote throughout their entire career. It's just a wonderful catalog. Sit back, relax, give this a listen, and I will see you on the other side.
Sitting on a park bench, years away from fighting. I had to cut a long story short, I lost my mind. I'll pack my kids one more time. I danced on my train once again. Destiny, give me a day. The rocking the stones when again. Work till you are so bound on night long. Work till you are so bound on barricades. Free with your love. Free with your love. Now, baby, be free with your love. Free with your love. Be free with your love. Free with your love. Now, baby, be free with your love. Free with your love. I'll always love April. We fell in love and we planted seeds. And now we walk through fallen trees and leaves are crushed beneath. And I will always live in autumn. Now we've agreed. All we have are empty spaces. Darling, once more, won't you give me one more time? Say these words together. I need you more than ever. Try it once more. One more chance to make it right. Never say never. Let's rise up together. Take on the world. I was a soul boy for the Western world. When I looked in your eyes, I was a soul boy for the Western world. Nearly died in your arms, I died in your arms. Take what you're after, take what you need. Find me the answer I want to concede. Oh, you know how I feel, so come along and steal. Let the night break out into a million stars. I was waiting on a train that wouldn't come again. Then you passed like summer rain. Now this is the love. This is the love. This is the love. This is the love.
Well, that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this trawl through Spandau Ballet's career and catalog. I'd say get online, if you're interested in finding out more. Tony Hadley has a bunch of solo albums, which I have. Gary Kemp has put out a few, which I have. And some of the other members have been involved in different projects. I just decided to focus on the band because this video is already long enough. But I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, remember me. I'm Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie.